Welcome to Gospel Greetings number 124. Today we continue in our series on the book, The 10-Second Rule by DeGraaf. Last week we discussed chapter 6 called Pre-Decisions. Remember from Daniel 1:8, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. I love the story of Daniel and how he made a pre-decision not to ruin himself by eating the king's food and drink, and all that stuff had been offered to idols. And then Billy Graham and his Modesto Manifesto. You remember the 4 points? Never be alone with a woman who's not your wife. Never handle the money. Only use official estimates of ministry results and never speak poorly of other people or ministries. What a great model for us. And the 10-second rule, just do the next thing you're reasonably certain Jesus wants you to do. This week we will be continuing on to chapter 7 called Love the One You're With. Yeah, I remember the song too, but that's not really what it's about. It's from Luke 6:30 from the Message translation. If someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant life. Live generously. In this chapter, Claire brings to light the hard parts of serving God. There will be difficult people in our lives that we are often called to serve that we do not always like. These are the times when we need to remember that Jesus cared for people who were rejected by society. And then to remember that we need to love everyone, even if they're people that we're not so fond of. Perhaps even see these opportunities as chances to learn and grow in our faith. Claire used the example of the Good Samaritan from Luke 10. It's so familiar we can almost take it for granted. We don't know if Good Sam liked or appreciated the man who had been attacked, but nevertheless he helped the man because it was the right thing to do. Do you remember how the lawyer asked the question of Jesus at the beginning of the story? He said, "Who is my brother?" So to Jesus, your brother is someone near you who needs help. And I don't just mean someone you're related to or a golfing buddy. And this helps explain the rationale for the 10-second rule in the first place. We, Christ's followers, are to be his change agents in our world, wherever he places us. 2 Corinthians 5:20 says, we are all Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. Can you imagine that? God is using us as ambassadors of his will, his plan, even his works, which are so often performed through us, his people. So the things happening around us are not just worldly things. They have spiritual consequences. But one thing is clear. When you're helping people, you're going to get disappointed, maybe even hurt. As Claire says, being taken advantage of occasionally is an occupational hazard of a servant of God. He gives an example of a man posing to be a Nigerian seminary student who took him for some money. Some people may disappoint, but then again, others will change, be grateful, or come to Christ because of God's work through you. Claire goes on, here's the point. I don't always like everyone I'm called upon to serve, and unfortunately, I've discovered I can't make myself enjoy someone. This week, I picked up a guy walking in a torrential rainstorm and gave him a ride home. It was hard to connect with him, and there seemed to be little fruit, but maybe next time. We must remember that it is the Lord Christ we are serving, Colossians 3. Faithfulness to Jesus is more important than any response we get. So, like the verse from Luke 6 says, will you practice the servant life and live generously this week?